Hi, this is Brad from Comic Experience Sci-Fi. It's podcast number 9 on February 21st. We're at Able Ideas' beautiful offices in Birmingham, Michigan. I'm here today with Nick Moretti,
hello,
Denver Rashawn,
howdy,
Marc Myers, and oh my God, I can't believe it's you, the Q.
That's right. Now that's a good nickname.
We are so totally gonna get our witch on, but first, the news.
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun.
Following up on last week's main topic, which was Deadpool.
Yay. Asshats.
This week, Deadpool is number 1 yet again at the box office. Pulled in a cool $55 million.
Not a surprise.
Which
that's not a lot of money at all.
From the release date up till today, that's made it the highest grossing X-Men movie of all time. So of all the Wolverine spin-offs, all the different X-Men movies, that's now ranks number 1.
Excellent.
And in related news,
Mr. Burns.
We've got news about Wolverine 3, which I think Q can enlighten us on, right?
Rated R! Yes. It's about damn time. Wolverine Origins fucked up Deadpool, and it was PG-13. It was more like G, because that shit sucked. And then the Wolverine was pretty good, but it was, PG-13 too?
So we're looking for a Kill Bill style Wolverine.
Where
Where
love
people
that.
will fall apart in pieces.
I would love that.
Snick, 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 and all that other.
I would love that.
And it'll tell more people to go fuck themselves.
That would be awesome.
But see, my only thing is, okay,
Now,
don't
is
get me
this
wrong.
still Hugh Jackman?
Yes, this is his last time playing Wolverine.
Okay.
And the rumor that came out this week is that all indications appear this will be Old Man Wolverine.
Old man
Logan.
Old Man Logan, sorry.
Okay.
So, okay, this is my only question, because they always keep saying this Deadpool movie was the first rated R comic book, but even if you don't want to count the graphic novels,
Well, we talked.
you said that last,
list of R-rated movies.
But okay, so my whole thing is, why couldn't they make Wolverine rated R from Blade? Because to me, Blade was very successful. 3 sucked.
Not
we know
like
that.
this, though. Blade was never like this.
Well, and you have to remember the X-Men movies where Wolverine originated. Those were all PG-13 movies, so they're not going to alienate that core audience and all of a sudden turn it R-rated.
Yeah, most of the other Wolverine movies are around children, the X-Men children, and he's always under Logan, shut the
And that character was always portrayed as a leader.
Right, exactly.
He was the main character.
I'm against R-rated comic book movies unless it's something like the 300 or something that's where the comic book was R-rated. Then the movie can be R-rated. Superhero movies, come on, they're still on some level for 10-year-olds, and they have to keep that in mind. There's plenty of violence already. What does it need? How are they going to? Is it if it's not for language, which Wolverine never swore, obviously in the comic books? Nobody swore. And yes, I'm sorry, folks, I have not seen Deadpool yet, so I don't know why it's rated R. I guess because of the action and the violence. But
because
how violent does it need to be? How graphic does it need to be? Comic book violence is PG-13 violence, and they can keep it.
Well, I think the dildo in Deadpool's ass made it R-rated.
The dildo in Deadpool's ass. I had.
Yeah, there was a
missed
pretty
that.
good sex scene too.
It was probably one of the weirdest, best sex scenes in the entire comic book world.
Well, it was a whole
Or the only one.
It was a whole 365-day sex session.
The Deadpool comic is a rated R kind of comic.
And I never read it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
in
I've
that
been-
case, yeah.
I've
But
been
not
reading
Wolverine.
more of it, and Denver, you asked, is it really that heavy in the books? And it turns out it is. He makes a lot of innuendos, and they're not. If you know what he's talking about, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe he just said that.
Well, but it's not as explicit as
oh no,
the movie.
they're
The movie's very explicit.
Right. It totally passes. The nuns would let you read it because, of course, they wouldn't understand the innuendos. But he's constantly, and there's a lot of pound at percent exclamation point
where they bleep out.
essentially exactly,
bleep
and they
out the
do that
swear.
in there too.
All right. Well, we have other comic book sequel news. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 released the first image. And Marc, who is going to be the new addition to the Guardians of the Galaxy movie?
Kurt Russell.
Yeah, Kurt Russell.
And they say he's playing Star-Lord's father, but they're not sure who he's playing.
Well, they haven't confirmed that, but that's everyone's saying that
Yeah.
he's going to be Chris Pratt's daddy-o.
Great casting.
Q looks
Nothing. No, I don't. Continue.
All right.
So does that mean Goldie Hawn's his mom?
That would be cool. That
The
would
way she's
Not
been
really.
looking lately, I hope not.
All right, it'd be a stepmom
Well, no,
because his mom died.
mom died.
Stepmom, yeah.
I mean, if she's an alien, yeah, great.
Yeah.
Well, no, wasn't the... Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
Okay, we have got a little bit more sequel news. Blade Runner 2, the release date has been announced, January 2018. Now, people are automatically questioning why January, because that's usually where they go to park the shithole
Right.
movies that no one wants to see. So that's raised a few flags. But what I thought was interesting was that the original Blade Runner was set in 2019. So the sequel will be coming out theoretically, unless they're advancing the storyline
Right.
30 plus years.
Well, there was always
Well, they don't
a
have to.
contention
Harrison
that
Ford
Harrison Ford was a machine.
A replicant.
Yeah,
correct.
replicant, yeah.
Yes, that Ridley Scott has gone on record to say that he is a replicant, but the movie doesn't really
Right.
strongly indicate one way or the other.
Can you imagine if he is a bad guy? He's playing the Roy Batty part in this.
Oh.
I strongly reject that Deckard is a replicant, even though you're right. Ridley Scott retroactively said he was, but in the original print, he's not. Only in, I don't know which cut. There's like 4 different versions of it, and I have them on Blu-ray, but in one of the cuts, Deckard's eyes are red for a split second, and that's supposed to indicate that he's a replicant. But if he's a replicant, the whole movie makes no sense whatsoever. So, I mean, the whole end of the movie where Batty saves Deckard's life because he learned to value all life. Well, if Deckard's just another replicant, it doesn't really have any meaning to it. So that's why I never understood why he felt he had to do that, except like, oh yeah, he was a replicant.
Twist ending.
Yeah.
And wouldn't he have powers too?
Yeah, he'd be strong. He'd be, I don't know. It didn't make any sense.
And it
to
doesn't
me.
make any
Bad
sense.
programming. No expiration date.
Well,
Yeah.
Here's the problem, though. Harrison Ford is in the sequel.
And he's old.
And he's old.
Yeah, so I think that kind of throws the replicant
Yeah.
issue out the window,
But-
unless he was based off of a real person.
Well, let me
Did
let
Ridley
me just
Scott
remind
directing
you,
the new one?
He's producing
Okay.
and writing, but
Okay.
he's not
Okay.
directing.
Denny Villeneuve is directing.
if
and
you-
Ryan
you-
Gosling is
you,
starring.
you guys all
Okay.
saw Terminator Genesis, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Terrible.
Where you see
Yeah, I was
where
gonna say, unfortunately,
well,
yes, I did
the
see it.
CGI
Not unfortunately.
the CGI on it has Arnie
Young Arnie.
here fighting Arnie just came in through the bubble naked.
Well,
about
they
to
did
beat
that
up-
with Michael Douglas and Ant-Man at the beginning.
Right,
They
but-
reverse aged him.
right, but
Stewart and McKellen and X-Men.
exactly.
United.
But what they did was that
Last
they
Man.
just CGI'd Arnie's original face onto the actor. There's no reason why they couldn't CGI Han's
Harrison
face
Ford.
onto the.
But that was a
original
pretty
onto a new actor.
brief scene. I mean, Harrison Ford as a replicant, that's going to be a lot.
Oh,
of,
absolutely.
A lot of work. If it's
All they
got to
do is find somebody with moderate, a right body build. I mean, he was fully clothed the whole time.
But Arnold was a machine in age, so if Harrison Ford turns out to be a replicant,
They
he
could come
can,
up
he
with
can age.
some
Yeah.
Right.
concoction.
Yeah, I mean Roy Batty didn't look like a young man. He had white hair and everything. But he was a young man. He just looked
Right.
older. I mean, Rutger Hauer was young back
Yeah.
then.
I like to bring up also the fact that this movie is being released in January, right in the wave of Episode 8, Star Wars Episode 8.
Ah,
So
that
why,
might be why.
why are
they're-
they putting it in January, like right in the middle of that? They're
Well, no, that could be exactly why they're doing it, because you're not going to have Harrison Ford in that movie. So for all the people missing Harrison Ford in Star Wars, go see him in Blade Runner.
Good point.
Maybe that's the thinking.
They're
I
trying
don't
to
know.
ride
when's,
that
when's that Rogue
publicity
thing
wave.
coming out?
That's this year.
Okay.
This December, yep.
Okay.
Okay, so we got one more sequel related item, and I wish Chris was here to talk to this. They released a set of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle 2 posters, and as good as the trailer looked, the posters were like the exact opposite. They were just the most generic, lame, boring posters. So
They look like Spider-Man posters.
yes, exactly.
Really?
Yep. It's
They're like
they
mid-jump,
photoshopped.
knees in the armpits.
Well,
jumping
no,
forward.
Well, no,
standing.
they're standing on like skyscrapers with the
Oh.
sunset.
What about Rocksteady and the other one? They don't.
No, these are just the character posters.
Oh well, who needs that?
And Chris brought
Don't we
up a
still
good-
have that from the last time.
Chris brought up a good point. You know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they're more of a nocturnal storyline. So they should be at night. They should be down in the sewers. They shouldn't
But
be.
they got these guys are supposedly coming out to the light of day now, though. Like, these guys are being seen. In
so I guess if
they're
that makes
changing
sense,
the whole.
if that's the new story.
You know what? They changed. They might as well just say, "Fuck it, we're gonna do whatever the hell we want to do," because they fucked up the first one anyway.
Yeah, the first one wasn't very good. They could
Well,
just kind of
yeah.
pretend that one didn't happen.
I mean, shit, you can't.
Just kidding.
The shit was fucking terrible.
Okay, so we got some anniversary news. I thought this would be interesting to talk about briefly. Ultraman had
50th.
a 50th anniversary.
Wow.
You know what? You're just gonna keep doing this. This is the third week in a row you've brought up that motherfucker.
Ultraman?
What's the matter? Ultraman was awesome.
No, we
Yeah.
just brought up Ultraman in response to, your
Voltron?
and your Power Ranger
Back
obsession.
before CGI,
think I'm gonna retire
Ultraman was, and dubbing aside, if you needed to see some kind of superhero fighting a monster from who knows what alien aspect, Ultraman was your go-to TV show.
It is my.
The reason I brought up Ultraman is we posted a little unofficial survey on our Facebook page asking who really would win in a battle. And the only two that really mattered was Ultraman and Godzilla.
Well, King Kong was on there.
Yeah,
Where's
but,
Giant Robot? Rough.
my question to Nick is, because he's kind of an aficionado of both Godzilla and Ultraman, if there was a battle between the two, whose money would
Well, that we can sort of semi-answer that question, as all Ultraman fans know. There's an episode of Ultraman where the Godzilla suit was used for the monster, except they put a fin around his neck because they made him like a sea creature.
I remember that one.
Yes, so Ultraman did defeat that.
He ripped it off.
He ripped the fin off,
Yeah.
and then the creature. It was kind of a sort of a. There were a lot of heavy emotional episodes of Ultraman. It was a very dramatic show.
Was that the same episode where that scientist created the monster? And
Yeah.
he walks and like steps on the guy's house.
Yes, exactly. It was a sort of a mad scientist.
He had
and-
one big white hair.
Yes, and,
Yeah, I
and the
remember
hair
that.
was actually a wig because
Yeah.
he was disguised as
Yes,
as a
I
doctor.
remember that.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it was based on the Loch Ness monster idea was what this Godzilla creature was. So as far as who would win in a fight, probably it's hard. Ultraman has more brains and more power, but Godzilla is like indestructible. He's kind of like the Hulk. Somebody could beat the Hulk up and knock him out,
But
they're
didn't
not gonna
Ultraman
stop him.
had a time limit?
He did. He only last 5 minutes in Earth's atmosphere.
Right.
So that was his
That would
Achilles
have
heel.
that and distance between starting the fight and the next commercial break.
Right. And while we're just quickly on the subject of Ultraman, not a lot of people aren't quite aware of this, but Ultraman to this day is a huge property in Japan, kind of like James Bond still is here. He is their Superman. Ever since 1966, when that first show came out,
Right.
there has never been a let-up in Ultraman films, TV shows, product, you name it. He is the man. There's even an Ultraman like Disney World in Japan.
for people that aren't-
Ultraman Land, it's called.
for people who aren't familiar with the character, can you just give us a quick synopsis of who Ultraman is or what it is?
Yeah, the show it was a Japanese kid show. Very expensive special effects. Eiji Tsuburaya, who created Godzilla and all of those famous special effects from all those various man in a suit monster movies as they became known. He produced this show, and it was about a group called the Science Patrol, also known as the Scientific Investigation organization. I think they went by that name too. But it was 5 people. One of them, Hayata, is accidentally killed by Ultraman's ship while Ultraman is pursuing a creature, and Ultraman gives Hayata his life. So that way, whenever there's danger threatening, Hayata can use the beta capsule, which is this, this device he holds in his hand. He becomes Ultraman. He's 40 meters tall. That way he can fight Godzilla-sized creatures. So week to week he would fight giant lizards or aliens, and then after 3 12-episode seasons, Ultraman gave way to Ultra 7, which was the next Ultra show, and then there was Ultraman Jack and Ultraman Tiga and all the Ultraman Leo. So it just never stopped. And
Then they got good and they created Power Rangers.
yes. So anyway, that's my Ultraman speech. So
Great. Thanks for filling us in.
Sure.
Now we've
Did
got-
he ever lose that capsule? Did anybody ever steal
well,
that
in the
capsule?
last episode, he loses and leaves Earth. Now, in the dubbed English version, they make it sound like he's just going away to get fixed and he'll be back one day. But in the Japanese language version, that's it. Ultraman leaves, Hayata's life is restored, and that's the end of the story of Ultraman.
Oh wow!
When I was a little kid, I loved that show so much. I used to take the thing from the toilet paper dispenser handle.
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
and I used that for a beta capsule.
That's probably what they made the real one out of. Yep.
So sad.
Oh.
Just so fucking
Good
sad.
stuff.
I know.
That's how before iPads and the internet.
That's
we
when
had-
kids-
I didn't have iPads either. You acting like
You
I was
had Game
born.
Boys, right?
That's when
No.
that's when children had to be more creative and use their imagination with
I'm sorry.
simple household objects. You know,
You know, my
Plungers,
generation, we had
we
used
didn't have
our-
the actual replicas they make now. You know,
Okay.
Nobody told you to be born in-
softball in a plunger held in there with gum that made a great scepter or a mace or all kinds of good stuff.
All right, we got some comic book news. Q, fill us in on this DC Rebirth. It's a new relaunch of sorts.
Well, it's not a relaunch. It's more of a
and do it without the heavy breathing.
Uh-oh, it's getting ugly in here. It's getting ugly.
Well, it's been ugly when Marc walked in the room. But
Where are those transmissions you intercepted?
well, you know, I
What
just
have you done
love
with those plans?
movies and those screenshot movies. Whatever, Marc. It's cool. It's all right.
All right, DC Rebirth. Come on, let's stay on target. Stay on target.
It's Iron Lung.
I am on target. Anyway, it's not really a relaunch per se. It's them going back to the original numbers. So certain comic books are gonna go back to like Action Comics is coming back, so now we'll actually probably get that Action Comics number 1000 that everybody's been waiting on. So it's not necessarily them relaunching; it's them taking certain characters and going back to the original
numbers. A few years ago,
numbers.
DC relaunched their entire universe, correct? The New 52.
Right. Which was the Paradox, Flashpoint Paradox.
How many issues did they do with the New 52s?
Well, they still have the New 52. Every character is not going back to their original numbers because some characters have flourished in the New 52.
So they're
Some
leaving
characters
those
haven't.
and they're rebirthing.
Kind
of the
probably like
dead.
Batman, Superman, stuff like that. It just came out a few days ago. It's not really a lot of information on it.
Can you define the New 52? Because I don't. I've seen that. I don't know what it means.
Well, it was. I want to say after Infinite Crisis or something like that. They kind of redid all of everybody's origin story, pretty much. They took 52 characters and redid their whole origin story. So there was like the new Justice League, the new Batman, which is Damian Wayne became Robin. That's a new thing. The new Teen Titans. Everybody got a new origin story because of what happened in the events of, I want to say, it had to be probably Flashpoint event.
Okay.
What I had to say was the Flashpoint.
Because the Crisis thing
That was years ago.
That
So
was
it was
in the- that was in the 80s.
Flashpoint.
Yeah.
It was the Flashpoint event that just happened, and they relaunched the whole thing. Flash went back in time, saved his mama. It was all bad.
Okay.
That's produced as
That's what
when
I call a
Thomas
flashback.
Wayne, that's when Thomas Wayne became Batman.
I love that animated movie.
Instead of
Did you see it?
yeah,
Oh, I love that.
Bruce
My
Wayne. What happened was Flash went back in time and saved his mom. So instead of Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne dying, Bruce got shot by the thief, and because of what happened, Thomas Wayne became Batman, but Martha became the Joker. So by seeing
and Thomas uses a gun
and uses
too.
guns, and if you watch the movie, the animated movie, he's chasing after Harley Quinn.
And Superman is an alien captured by the government.
He landed in Metropolis instead of in Smallville.
Yeah.
So he's captured by the government, and Cyborg is the world's greatest hero.
That sounds
Well,
great.
that's
So
rad.
and
Check out
then
the animated movie.
Aquaman
What's the name of
and
the
Wonder
movie?
Woman are at war.
The Justice League Flashpoint Paradox.
Aquaman and Wonder Woman,
Animated?
Atlantis,
Yeah.
Atlantis and
Oh yeah, that's
Themyscira are at war.
Okay, let's not recap the whole storyline because
But
we've got
yeah.
a lot to cover
But
here.
that's what the New 52 was about.
and that's going to start
And,
this summer,
yes,
correct?
Rebirth is starting this summer.
Okay, great. let's go over quickly a few events that are happening in the local Metro Detroit area. Next weekend, we've got the Great Lakes Comic-Con over at the Macomb Community College. And, Nick, you've been to that several times.
Yeah, Great Lakes Comic Expo, I think, is what it's called.
Expo,
I
yes,
think,
yeah.
yeah. In fact, we were out. They do a few shows a year. They do a major one, and they do a few smaller ones. And we were at the smaller one last year interviewing, but I was also at the major one too. And yeah, aside from Motor City Comic Con, I think it's Metro Detroit's best comic show, at least that I've been to. There's a couple new ones. There's one in Lansing in a few weeks that I've never been to. But it's a great show. Lots of toys, lots and lots of comic books, and awesome prices on graphic novels. So if you collect, like I do, graphic novels, that's one of the best things you can do at these comic shows is really stock up on graphic novels.
And this year's expo has a 70s, 80 theme, and they're actually going to have a free play arcade area there. So that'll be fun. And that's, just so people know, that's only on Friday night and Saturday during the day. So it's not quite like the Comic-Con that has all weekend long. And then something interesting that actually started this weekend that might be fun for people to check out. I'm not familiar with it myself, but RoboCop the musical is playing down at the City Theater in Detroit. That's where the old Second City was. Right. So it's a comedy with the title.
Is that
like
Hockey
that.
Town?
Yeah, right in Hockey Town, right there. Yep. And then also this week, we've got Thursday night. There is a world premiere of the fan film. There's a new Star Trek fan film that was made in Michigan. It's a feature-length film. It'll be playing at the Main Art Theater Thursday, I believe, at 7 o'clock. Okay. If you can't make it out, look for it on YouTube because I believe like a few days or a week later they are going to release it on YouTube because being that they obviously don't own the rights to do a Star Trek movie, they have to release it for free. And, it can't be a for-profit.
So what are they doing with the money?
There's no money.
Well, Main Art Theater's letting people in for free?
I mean, they're doing a donation to, recoup the expense of.
Usually, it costs $1,000 to rent out a theater at the Main Art Theater, and then whoever is putting on the movie, they make all the profits once it receives their $1,000 back.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think they're just hoping to cover costs. Yeah. They're not. It's not a profit.
Oh, and also the Star Trek movie also stars Paul Lang of Till We're Free and Matzo Brie fame.
Yes, very prominent local actor, friend of ours.
Yes.
And then lastly for events, John Carpenter announced the U.S. dates for his tour. He has 2 albums. Well, one album that's out, one that's coming out. So he's going to perform those songs and hopefully some of the classic themes from his different movies. I've already got my tickets for this July 15th. He's going to be in Detroit at the Masonic Theater.
How much were those tickets?
I think you can get some pretty cheap ones. I got the fairly close to the stage. They were like $75, and then they have like meet and greet packages, $200, $300, $400.
Oh, that's nice.
So yeah, check that out, Ticketmaster. I got 2. I got 2, so I got 1 extra if anyone wants to go. Okay, so that's it for the events. We had 1 trailer and 1 what they're calling trailer announcement, which is kind of a new thing. Ghostbusters released a trailer announcement. The reboot, the actual trailer will be out on March 3rd.
I thought that was the dumbest thing. Why can't you just come out with the trailer?
Women.
I think they could charge for
We
trailers.
know there will be a trailer at some point.
Really?
You know what? I think there's going to be a day where they're going to start charging for trailers.
Women.
Well, trailers are so big now.
I'm blaming it on women.
Well, you technically kind of
That's
did
not
have
sexist at all.
to pay for trailers by going to the
I
movie
didn't say
theater.
fucking women.
Okay, we did have a real trailer that came out this week,
Start
and
new pornos.
that's Midnight Special. Mark, I think you're familiar with the filmmaker behind that.
Yeah, Jeff
Cool
Nichols, the
looking
director behind Mud and Taken, which both had Michael Shannon in it, and he's in this new movie too. But it looks
that's General Zod for you geeks out there.
This looks like sort of like a John Carpenter throwback kind of movie.
Totally does. It's like John Carpenter meets Firestarters. The vibe I got from it.
Yeah, Stephen King,
Yes,
John Carpenter. It looks like an '80s movie.
Totally.
Do we
done.
know
And it's
who
got a
wrote
great
it?
cast. Oh, pardon me.
Do we know who wrote it?
I think Jeff Nichols
Jeff
wrote and
Nichols.
directed it.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
So this is his first
straight
foray.
screen-
His first foray into kind of science fiction.
It's a genre filmmaking.
But he started from its screenplay from
original
scratch,
material.
Is what you're saying.
Yes,
An original-
not
It's
based on.
Not based on a book or anything like
But
that.
like Mark said, it's very reminiscent of
I
those
see.
Stephen King
A
style.
lot of people like to do these homages now. Tarantino did it with Hateful Eight.
Oh,
it was a
yeah.
homage to
Spaghetti
his,
Western.
His whole career is
Westerns
homage.
and John Carpenter. You know,
Yeah.
and John
His
Carpenter.
movies are great.
Yeah.
couple new movies that came out this week. But the one that interests us is The Witch, which is
I'll
the
get you,
theme
my pretty.
for this episode. And in light of The Witch, we got our hands on some Dark Penance from Founders. Brad?
Founders Brewing.
Now, I
Well,
know
thi-
you guys aren't big IPA fans, which this is, but I myself am enjoying it.
This is called Dark Penance Imperial Black India Pale Ale. Has an interesting composition, a heavy malt foundation, includes crystal malt for sweetness and just enough midnight wheat malt to push the color to black. The bitterness is huge, but balanced by malt sweetness. The hop flavors and aromas range from citrus to floral to pine, thanks to a delicious blend of hand-selected Chinook salmon and Centennial hops. No, the salmon I put in. I think it tastes like ass, personally.
Why do you sound like you're reading a sex novel?
Because I'm good.
He's trying to
fucker.
sell. He's trying to
Beer
sell.
porn.
He's trying to sell.
Yeah,
Exactly.
come on.
Are you getting paid
I
under the
love the
table?
logo on this. It looks like some zombie old lady. You know.
Oh, yeah.
it's-
Serious hag action on
Yeah,
there.
that's a witch.
Yeah,
Classic
her
witch.
nose almost touches her chin. That's
She looks like the witch from
Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah, I was gonna say Hansel
Yeah.
and Gretel.
Yeah.
Now, I actually do like it. Like you guys, I'm not a big IPA fan, but
Yeah,
I
it's
think
too hoppy.
it's pretty darn good. But you've got to get past the bitterness. If
All
you're
right,
not,
well let me
if
taste
you're not a
this.
bitter beer fan, then you're not going to like this.
On my slut meter, we'll see what this is.
God, I should be sitting in front of him. He'll spit it out all over me. Oh, yeah, you made the face. Made the face.
Ultimate slut. I mean, this is one of them beers that. Jesus.
Uh-oh, he's got to wash it down with some pop.
If
there.
you'd
That's a
like
great
to clear your
compliment.
Oh
palate,
my god!
I just happen to
I
have
mean-
some delightful, crisp and natural hard apple cider.
That's a one night
crisp.
stand that you don't even want to. You rather chew your arm off than risk waking her.
This beer came highly recommended from our unofficial beer
Right.
expert Shannon Long over
Hey,
at Brew
Shannon!
Export. She recommended this, and like I said, I'm not a bitter fan, but I think it's pretty darn good. And she turned me on to an app called Beer Menus, which is actually pretty cool. You download the app, you type in the beer that you want, and it tells you where the stores around you are selling. So
Really?
it could be for any beer.
How can they
obviously.
know that?
Apparently, they've got some online system where these companies or these
Wow.
stores,
Oh,
report in-
distributors.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like multiple
Technology.
database.
So I punched up
access
the
stuff.
I punched up Dark Penance in the app, and it told me that there was Pour right over on Woodward, right down the street
Right.
from us. That it was there. I popped in. The guy was super nice. Took me right over to his founders section, and there was right on the shelf.
He needs to burn that founder section.
So if
Well,
you
they're not all bad, are they? Have we?
well,
have
they're
we
not
had
all
one?
bitter,
Right.
They're
You
not
guys-
all IPAs.
Yeah.
They're-
You guys are confusing bitter with bad, and there's a lot of
No, I've
fans.
They
had
both start with B, so what the fuck's the difference?
I've been a bad influence.
Yes,
on
that
you, I
movie was
admit it.
so bitter.
So anyway, if you're looking for those hard to find kind of craft beers, check out the Beer Menus app. And if you're in the Royal Oak area, check out Pour. They were really cool, very helpful. And now on to our feature presentation. Mark, tell me you saw The Witch, please.
Yes, I did. I saw The Witch. It was not really a horror movie. It was a psychological drama. And without giving away spoilers, which is very hard to talk about this movie without really giving away what's going on.
Yes, because we know you lack the intelligence to do that.
Oh, we went there.
Well, I'm not going to spoil this movie for our listeners. I would recommend they see it. It's an independent film. It was really well shot, well acted. It's got some really good I think British actors in it because they're all playing, British people that immigrated over here to the United States, and they all used that vernacular. It was like they actually used dialogue, dialogue they used back then in the 1600s.
Is that when it's supposed to be?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
they're all
Okay.
essentially
Puritan.
they're all pilgrims coming over
So
to
it's
America.
17th
So
century.
they're all English people.
No technology.
The movie would have helped if they had subtitles because a lot of the language was like, it was like Shakespeare.
thou
It
and
was
that
like,
and shot.
yeah, it was really hard to understand, but you kind of felt like you knew what was going on.
We run subtitles on everything when we watch it on DVD because you can't understand anybody.
When he gets it from the
Live.
You missed your
Yeah.
cue. You missed your fucking cue.
Feel free to Q to jump in on the
When he gets it from the library.
Okay, got it. Yeah,
Jesus
I was too
Christ.
deep into thinking about my review of the movie that no one else went to go see.
Well, no, actually, I saw it,
I'm talking about these guys.
and there's no superheroes in it, so
Exactly.
Oh,
Right.
that's
a
right.
bit of a
And
shock.
it's
I don't
not
wanna see
science-
nobody
and it's
chasing
not
a
science
dog.
fiction, so I'm not really interested.
I really did like the fact how they did use that language. I felt like I was actually watching, like I was there.
Yeah.
In that
It was-
period, it was
Really?
it was because it was mostly took place at this farm,
Okay.
I mean just the whole set design.
Let's tell people the basic premise of the story. Essentially, is you've got all these pilgrims coming over to New England from England, of course, and there is a family who is very devout. There was a lot of religious people, obviously, back in that
Quakers, yeah.
time.
They were outcasts from the regular community.
But they were there was essentially two types of pilgrims. There's the pilgrims that wanted to get rich, to come to the New World, to set up trading, and then there was the ultra religious pilgrims that just wanted their religious freedoms to be able to worship and observe how they want to. This family is an example of that ultra religious family. That this town that they were in, this settlement, was even too kind of liberal and not pious enough for them. So they essentially banned themselves out to the wilderness right on the edge of this forest where a witch is supposedly living. Now, what I thought was fascinating about it is it's part of one of the what I call art house horror films that they've had the last couple of years. Like last year you had It Follows. The year before that, you had The Babadook, where, like Mark said, these movies are more interested in telling a really great story with really interesting characters, and there are horror elements in it, but that's really not the focus of
It's
the
not
movie.
really a bad thing either.
No, it's
That's
it's
actually really a
it's
good
got like 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, so the critics love it. The crowd I was in, I went on a Saturday evening. It was pretty sparse, so I don't think it's going to make a lot of money. But it's a great movie. And there are some pretty fantastic horror elements in it, especially the end, which I won't reveal.
Yeah.
But they go full-on witch at the end, and it is awesome.
Yeah.
But what I will say about the movie, and which is why I wanted to kind of make this the topic of our conversation this week, is witches are a really potent, theme in fiction throughout the years. Because if you look at it, men kind of seem to be drawn to witches because it represents this fear of a powerful woman, and women seem to be drawn to witches because it does give them that.
It's feminism in its own way. It
Yes,
liberates them from the
correct.
male. And in fact, it harkens back to a time when goddess and god were equal in power, when women were the priestesses, especially when you talk about modern day witch covens, where women are, sometimes they are only women, but often, for sure, a woman is equal to a man in witchcraft and Wicca. I haven't seen this movie yet, and I really want to, so I don't know exactly where they're going with it, especially if it's a period movie. But yeah, and also there's a sexual aspect to it. The Puritans of that period painted witches of people as women who had sex with the devil in order to attain their powers, and they would have marks left on their body by where the devil bit her or whatever like that. And during the Salem witch trials, that's the kind of thinking that prevailed.
Yeah, and this movie almost plays out like a Salem witch trial prequel. That got us thinking about our favorite witches throughout movies, TV, and comic books. So I'm just going to quickly kind of talk about some of the movies. In the 90s, there was a huge witch explosion, for lack of a better term. And I think it was really kicked off by The Witches of Eastwick. That came out in 1987, and that's by Mad Max director George Miller. So there is kind of a geeky connection there.
Right.
And throughout the 90s, on both in both movies and TV, there was a ton of witch stuff. I'm just going to kind of give you a quick rundown. In 1990, we had The Witches, which is based on the Nicholas
Angelica Houston, right?
Yeah, it's Nicholas Roeg directed it, who also did
The Man Who Fell from
Man Who
Earth.
Fell to Earth. So we got another sci-fi connection there. But it's based on the what's the author, the children's author who did
Roald Dahl.
Yes, thank you. Which I just read to my kids, and we just watched the movie, and they're both great, so I highly recommend.
He wrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, folks, and James and the Giant Peach.
Yep, and the Big Friendly Giant
Fantastic
BFG.
Mr. Fox,
Yes, correct. Yeah, so
which is also a very popular
very good,
movie.
very good. So
Kinda
okay,
creepy, though.
and so that's 1990. 1993, we had Hocus Pocus, which I wasn't a big fan of, but
Never in Bibble, Boyle in trouble.
Bette Midler, though, you can't go
yes,
wrong.
and I think especially girls of that period love that movie
Hocus
because
Pocus.
every single day online I see Hocus Pocus sequel news, which never pans out. Then you had shortly after that you had The Craft with Neve
Which was-
Campbell,
now that
Fruza
was-
Balk.
yeah,
that was
really
obviously a more serious take.
Robin
unlike-
Tunney.
Yes, Robin Tunney. Yep, and then. We also had, in the 90s, you had Practical Magic. with-
Sandra Bullock.
Yep.
Nicole
and
Kidman.
Nicole Kidman, yep. So, I mean, you could just tell there was just a ton of witch stuff. Let me see. I know there was a couple more. The 90s, we kind of wrapped up the 90s with the Blair Witch Project, which was a huge phenomena.
Yeah.
You never actually saw the witch, in the movie, but that kind of kicked off that whole found footage revival. And then on TV, in that same time period, you had a lot of shows in the 90s. You had Charmed, which I believe was the Aaron Spelling show. Let's see, we had Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Then you had Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Had strong witch theme. So you could see that the 90s was a real fertile period. So I was trying to think, because we were talking about that whole feminist angle. What was in the 90s that kind of, sparked such a run on witches? Because we're seeing that now.
Bill Clinton.
Yeah, that could have been. Because, we had, what's her
Coming
name?
off the first Bush and 8 years of Reagan, that
Yep.
would make women crazy.
Yep, I think you're right. Because right now we're kind of in a bit of a witch resurgence. We had American Horror Story Coven, which is a whole season dedicated
to witches.
with who's
Jessica Lange.
Jessica Lange, thank you. Yep. And then we've got witches in Game of Thrones. We got witches in Hemlock Grove. We had actually on I believe it's TBS Salem, a whole show dedicated just to witches.
Witches in True Blood.
True
Yep.
Blood, yep.
There's a
exactly.
season of that. Season
And
of
then-
True
Oh,
Blood.
yeah, that was a witch.
Supernatural has witches, the originals. There was
Was it the
even
originals?
a Witches of Eastwick knockoff just called Eastwick.
Yep.
And then there was like I don't know if it was a spoof, I never saw it, but they have Witches of East End, which was kind of like the Gossip Girls of witches, I guess you could say.
Once upon a time.
Once upon a time, Sleepy Hollow.
Sleepy Hollow.
So you can just
Are
see.
there witches in Sleepy Hollow?
Oh yeah, the wife.
The wife
of,
now.
Miranda
Ichabod
Richardson.
Crane's
Yes.
wife is a witch.
Miranda
witch.
Richardson was the witch. In the movie, I'm talking about the movie.
Oh, the
We're
movie.
talking about the TV
Yeah,
show.
I know.
TV show.
Don't-
Penny
don't
Dreadful
do
had
that.
witches, so I mean we could just see that there's just a ton of witches on TV right now, and so I guess that's finally started to carry over into movies with The Witch. So I'll be curious to see if that continues on and there's any more.
Witches.
in the movie.
Don't forget Doctor Strange coming out this year. Might be a witch.
That's what I was gonna ask
At least
you.
female magician aspect, but who
As
knows?
the world's biggest Doctor Strange fan, you would know.
Right.
Well, now, was there actual witches in Doctor Strange?
Not technically, because
Scarlet
they were
Witch.
sorcerers, not witches. But I mean, I haven't read every Doctor Strange story, but I'd have to believe that at some point a witchish character
But there's
would
no
have.
famous.
No, there's no famous supervillain witches.
I'm about to say Enza would be technically
The Scarlet
considered-
Witch is the only
Yeah.
real, and even she is
is
a mutant.
Right.
Clea will
Baba
could
Yaga.
technically
Leia was his
consider-
girlfriend,
but
yeah.
she would technically be considered a sorceress, right?
Yeah, and he taught her, so she didn't start out
Yeah,
with powers.
she's a sorceress.
Yeah, and it's important that you mentioned sorceress because I was trying to figure out what exactly is the difference between a witch and a sorceress. And I'm no expert. From what I read, a witch uses magic powers. A sorceress is someone who is evil, much more power. You know, goes beyond magic per
Yeah.
se.
Right.
Right. One power comes from the earth. The other power comes from
Evil or something. Probably.
well, like
Yeah.
a demon or a
Right.
a universal something or other. It depends. Usually, right, a god, a demon, or something.
Yeah.
Well, since we're talking about comic book witches, I believe the very first comic book witch was. Any guesses?
It's either Sabrina or Wendy.
Witch Hazel.
You
Wendy,
you just did-
1954.
Yep, you just did 1 and 2.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Wendy, the little good witch. I'm still not 100% sure why she's wearing both. She's wearing footy pajamas with a hood. That came to a little point because back in the day, that was if you wanted anything supernatural, you watched Casper the Friendly Ghost, and the point they made in the write-up that I read, and I don't know that I ever really thought about this, but she was almost an outcast with her family because she was a good witch,
Yes,
right?
correct.
Her aunts, whatever
That's why
it
it's in
was,
the title,
Thelma,
Wendy.
Velma, and Helma, or whatever. They were triplets or something. Were constantly berating her for being a good little witch. That was not a nice thing to say to somebody.
We're also missing the elephant in the room, which is Harry Potter. Which
Well, we'll
sorry.
circle back around.
Oh, okay,
But
gotcha.
But,
Go.
but aren't
That's
the girls
the
still
wizard.
technically everybody at the school is a wizard?
Wizard is a witch, more or less.
Female, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll circle
one-
back around to
or
that
a
because
warlock
that's got a
is-
whole
But
separate
Sabrina,
topic.
Sabrina Teenage Witch.
Well, Wendy the Good Witch was a Casper the Ghost spinoff.
Yes.
And then a couple years, about 10
Eight
years
years later.
there was Sabrina the Teenage
on
Witch.
the Archie
comics,
which
It was
I
an
also
Archie
read.
Spinoff. Yep.
Yeah.
And the 60s were a pretty fertile ground for witches because we also
Bewitched.
had Camilla, Queen of the Norns, which was a antagonist to Thor in Journey into Mystery. That
Right, those were the ones written like Prince Valiant. They were really realistic. They were short. They were short comics. They were pure pulp and like 4 colors, and it was really more adult than kids because I tried to read that stuff when I was a little kid.
Just wasn't into it?
You couldn't get into it. It was all too serious.
Yeah.
Like what the hell are they talking
Well,
about?
those were created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and then they also what I thought was interesting in the '60s. You also had 2 enchantresses.
Yep.
There was the Enchantress, and then just Enchantress.
Enchantress. Yep.
Q, tell us about the DC Enchantress, just because we know she's going to be coming up. playing
in
a
the
big-
Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
What was that? I can think if I can recall. Enchantress in the Suicide Squad is possessed by a demon. I want to say she's an archaeologist, something to that effect. She goes to the tomb or whatever and is possessed by a demon. And, the whole classic story, becomes a bad guy, blah, 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 stuff like that. So the demon really
So how do they
takes over
control
body.
her?
But what's funny in the original comic book, she was not necessarily a bad a villain.
Not villain.
She was at a party, and there was a witch or a spirit there that is essentially possessed her to kind of help rid the castle that they were at of some other evil spirits.
That ain't how it went.
So she's a medium.
She got a date rape drug. That's what it was.
So she's a medium basically and got taken over by a spirit.
That's
Could
kinda
be,
what
yeah.
it
You
sounds
could
like.
you could say that. You could say that. So
because most people who are mediums don't know that they have that capability unless there's an opportunistic spirit around.
Wait,
The same way with witches, unless they happen to fall and either wish real hard or say and do something. That's a common theme for people who don't know they're witches. It's not like Sabrina, who knew she was a witch because her family's a witch. Right. Well, she's only half witch because her mother was mortal. Nice eyes. But it's different when people discover it. That's what's really unique, and especially like Witches of Eastwick. That's what's unique is they had no idea that they were witches. They were, yeah.
I got a obscure witch we forgot. Unless we're not going to go. We're gonna.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Although
it's a comic book.
It's a movie of a comic book.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
What's
Faye
that?
Dunaway in Supergirl. The villainess was sort of this witch type character.
Yep.
Terrible movie, but lots of fun.
That's interesting.
Oh,
I'll have to
there was
go
a
back.
Supergirl
I didn't
movie?
realize.
Yeah, 1980.
yeah.
Came after Superman 3. Helen Slater.
And Helen Slater is in the new
Supergirl show.
TV show.
Yeah.
She plays Supergirl's adoptive mother. So kind of, and Dean Cain's the father. So
I'll bring it for you next time. You can borrow
cool.
it.
That would be great.
It's worth a look.
Because Faye Dunaway played a witch in Mommy Dearest too. No, I'm sorry. That was a bitch. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, let's talk about the
Well done,
difference
sir.
between we talked about the Enchantress. Or just Enchantress. What about the Enchantress from Thor. Correct?
Yeah, she was a villain in Thor, and she also gave the Avengers a hard time in their early issues. She teamed up with the Executioner, and they got a couple other villains. So there was
right. I know that character.
the early. Yeah, she's blonde hair. She's always
she's in love with Thor.
she's
right?
a hottie, just trying to use
Well,
her
it's because he
feminine
rejected her and
wiles.
she's forever scorned shrew
Right.
mode.
So that's kind of that men seeing the
It's a chauvinistic
evil, powerful
kind of a-
women
yeah.
as bad. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. All right,
It
and
sounds
then
like soap operas, not comic
Oh,
books.
they were. Those
All right,
Stanley ones
well-
were.
As the Thor turns.
as the hammer turns. Q mentioned a couple of the TV shows we had. What did you say again?
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
No. In the 60s.
Bewitched.
Bewitched. Yes, thank you.
You guys are forgetting the most famous witch of all.
Elvira?
No, the Wicked Witch of the West.
Well, we
Well, we were going to get to her.
We're not there yet,
You
Debbie.
can't have to talk about her
Actually,
last.
Wendy predates her, but that's what, 1956 for Wizard of Oz?
no, that's
38.
the 30s. Yeah.
What?
39, yeah, 1939.
What?
Late 30s.
Yeah, we haven't
Before my
gotten to
time.
the
You're right.
classic
You're right.
movies yet.
Right, so sit there, be patient.
Okay, I'll sit here and be patient
So what
and
was
breathe heavily into
the?
the
I was
mic.
never a big. I was never a big
not
Bewitched
me.
fan.
Fucker.
What was the basic premise of Bewitched?
New York ad executive finds a beautiful girl, marries her on their wedding night. She says, "Oh, by the way, I need to show you something." Nose wiggling, and something appears. She expresses that she's a witch. He makes her promise to live her life as a mortal, and hijinks ensue.
Pretty much.
The mother, yes, thank you.
Well, wait,
I thought
what
he
was-
found her in a bottle on the beach.
No, that was
Master!
Barbara Eden.
That's I Dream of Jeannie. I
Master!
don't
That was an awesome show, by the way. What was the question?
Better than Bewitched.
No, what was the basic plot device of the show? It was her trying to use her powers without being caught.
Well, no, it wasn't. No, that's Sabrina Teenage Witch. The thing with Bewitched was she was constantly having a problem with her family. Did not accept the fact. It's like, look, you're a witch. You come from a family of witches. You can't deny your heritage. So her mother, her uncles,
Her mother was the best one.
and she was in Citizen Kane.
Agnes Moorehead.
Yeah.
Agnes Moorehead.
She was a big time actress.
Mercury
The
Theater.
fact is that they were constantly antagonizing Darren, the husband, and tricking Samantha into using her power. And the only way she could get him out of these things was to use her power, and he would constantly say no. So they were always working on, and that was literally the recurring theme of every show. Mother-in-law shrinks him to a mouse. You got to get me out of this. Dr. Bombay comes in and screws something up, and she loses her power, and she can't save him. And my favorite character from the show was Paul Lynn, who would constantly Uncle Arthur, who would snap his fingers and turn into a walking skeleton. He was hysterical.
Yeah, me too now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now that you think about it.
Samantha.
There was a lot of famous. Wasn't her father Maurice? Yes.
The guy from Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
Hutch
A
from
lot
Rosemary's
of famous
Baby.
people were on that show at least a half dozen times. Another constant thing was the Snoopy neighbor.
Oh yeah.
And the Mrs. Kravitz, she would be constantly peeping out her window, watching something that happened. Abner was at the kitchen table, reading his newspaper, having his breakfast, and she would say, Abner, something just happened. And he's like, yeah, sure it did. Okay, fine. And then stuff would just keep happening, and horrible things happened to Mrs. Kravitz because she just wouldn't mind her own business.
Well, I don't know if this is true, but I heard that that show was based on a 1942 movie, maybe loosely inspired.
Renee Claire.
I Married a Witch, starring Veronica Lake and Frederick March.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, is the premise
I
kind
think
of the
so.
same?
You're right.
I imagine it's probably loosely based on it, but yeah, I mean that would be my guess. But I don't think it's a direct. Or they probably would have called it "I Married a Witch."
Yes.
So it was more inspired by. It was essentially a romantic comedy.
Yeah, kind of like
with
American
witches.
Graffiti inspired Happy Days, probably type of thing.
Okay, I gotcha. Well, just a few years before that, as we alluded to, the most famous witch of all time appeared in 1939.
Georgia Hamilton, when she wasn't trying to sell us Maxwell House coffee.
Yes, the Wicked Witch of the West.
I'll get you.
It's Margaret Hamilton, by the way. Margaret
dog,
Hamilton.
too.
You said Georgia Hamilton.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, Margaret Hamilton. You're
Margaret
right.
Hamilton.
Sorry.
So.
And I think what's important about
Damn dyslexia.
Wizard of Oz and Margaret Hamilton is that I think she pretty much defined what a witch was in people's minds for pretty much ever
The rest
since.
of
essentially.
time?
Yeah. That classic kind of
Green,
hook nose, green skin, evil
warty.
dower, you know.
And they're allergic
Pointy
to
hat,
water.
rides a broom.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
all
believe
of
she
the-
was like a librarian too before they, when she was hired to be the witch.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Those librarians.
I was just about to say, like, okay, never mind.
Okay, now here's
Wow,
what's
you're right.
interesting.
He really is an asshole.
What's interesting is Wizard of Oz was not the first appearance of witches in movies. There's actually an infamous 1922 Danish movie called Haxen, which for the time was quite shocking because it was loaded with nudity, gore, sexual situations, and it essentially positioned the theory that witches, historical period witches, were sufferers of mental illness.
Right.
So instead of being the, disenfranchised, powerless women trying to kind of take their place in society, this said basically, well, if you're a witch, you're just crazy.
Looney bin.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all that belladonna.
So it's if you're interested in finding kind of an obscure witch, black and white, obviously silent movie, but check it out.
Isn't that available in the Criterion Collection? I believe so.
That's a good bet. I
I
don't
believe
know for
that
sure,
film
but-
is available in Criterion.
Hexan was also the name of the production company that did Blair Witch Project. I wonder if they
Oh, that's interesting.
did that as a tribute.
I bet you they did. Okay, well, speaking of tributes, there was a whole series of Disney movies that were kind of inspired by the classic fairy tale version of witches. I've got a list here.
Maleficent.
Exactly, yes. Both the cartoon version and they did the film version with Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
Which, again, was kind of a feminist twist on the story where Maleficent was more the victim
Right.
who then kind of fought back against the evil king. And I guess technically in that she was a fairy.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
But very witch-like, so I guess.
Well, she was a fairy, and the local king tore her wings off, and he gained all of his power from her wings. And it wasn't until his stepdaughter went in, got saved, got protected and came back, got the wings, gave them back, and then spoiler, so she recovered and beat the shit out of him, displaced him, and put the girl on the throne. So
Yeah, the Maleficent movie kind of positions that taking of the wings is almost like a rape, date rape of sorts, So, which is why I thought that one for a Disney movie was pretty
right, because she was
powerful.
trying to protect the woods.
Yes.
The king was trying to expand and take over the territory, and all the nature's creatures needed a protector, and Maleficent stood up to stand up against the humans. In fact, that whole movie is the humans really are the bad guys.
Yes.
But see, wasn't Maleficent the mother, the stepmother in Sleeping Beauty?
She was in Sleeping Beauty, yes.
Yeah,
correct.
she's the villain.
She's the
in
bad
Sleeping
guy in
Beauty.
Sleeping
Right,
Beauty.
but Maleficent is supposed to be the retelling of that story.
Wow.
Well, no, it was the prequel of
Is that-
Sleeping
is that
Beauty.
what it
I
is?
just don't like these reimagining where Maleficent's suddenly a good guy rather than a bad.
She was not. You
In
didn't
Sleeping
want to
Beauty,
toy
she
with
was
her.
evil. She
right,
was a
but she
Well,
turned
villain.
into a dragon. And
Yeah,
the whole
Angelina
nine.
was still evil, but with a
Purpose.
origin story to
Right.
kind of
Right.
show you why she was evil.
Like, yeah.
So Disney, in the very first animated feature film of all time, had probably, besides Wizard of Oz,
Snow White?
had one of probably the most classic evil witches of all time.
Right.
The reason I don't eat apples to this day.
Is that why?
Yes.
Just don't take them from old ladies.
That's right. And then
you need to hang around a lot of old ladies.
Look who's talking.
an apple
Me
a
too.
day. Okay, so Disney also had, because of that early success in Sleeping Beauty, obviously in Snow White, we talked about Sleeping Beauty, but even in some of their more contemporary movies, we had Ursula, the Sea Witch.
Right, I was going to say the octopus.
Yep,
The octopus
in the
lady,
Little Mermaid.
Right.
Who
And then-
also appeared, I believe, in Once Upon a Time. The
Was she in Once Upon a Time?
I think they brought in all the witches on that.
Well, you know what?
Everybody in Once Upon a Time was in a Disney movie.
Yeah.
I'm about to say it started off as fiction from the
It is.
novels.
It always
Then
was.
they all of a sudden it just became all about Disney characters.
because Disney owns ABC and ABC owns
Yeah, they're just
Once Upon a Time.
recycling all their
Well,
characters.
I know. I'm just okay. Never mind. Go ahead.
And so we've got we have Queen Nerissa from Enchanted. That was a big hit a while back.
Oh, yeah,
with
yeah,
Susan
yeah.
Sarandon. And then we've got Entangled, which was a great
Yeah.
Her
Digitally-
mother, right?
Rapunzel.
Mother
Rapunzel's
Gothel,
mother.
Yeah.
Gretel, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And then even in Emperor's New Groove, we had.
Oh yeah, she was a witch.
Well, how do you say the name? Yza?
Is it? I don't know.
How do you spell it?
YZA.
Yeah,
I think John Travolta knows the name of that one.
Yeah.
It's a Mandel.
Azim, yes. And then you've got a witch in Sword in the Stone.
Beauty and the Beast, doesn't a witch turn him into the Beast?
Yeah, she doesn't technically appear.
Right.
But,
But
kind of
she
the,
turns him into
the
the
catalyst of the
backstory, yeah.
story.
Right. Yeah.
And then
Bed knobs and broomsticks.
I was just going to bring up good old
Angela Lansbury.
Yeah, Angela Lansbury.
right,
yep.
and then there was The Rock. Go ahead. Anybody?
The Rock.
Bueller? No. Escape to Witch Mountain.
Oh,
Yeah.
The great remake.
Wait a minute, that's the remake
was-
though. What about the original?
I know, but I don't know who's
Well,
in
who
the
was the
original.
witch in
There was
the
no
original?
witch. It was just
That's
a mountain.
Witch Mountain, I know, but it's a witch and it's a movie and it's Disney. That's where I
I'm
was
about to
going
say,
with it.
it wasn't no witch.
That's
in
what we
there.
call a stretch.
Like Marc's pants. Want to play this game with me today, boy? We can go. Okay.
Well, you know, I need to have them
Yeah,
stretch
but
when I have this humongous.
But that was perfect sci-fi too because the kids were aliens.
That's true. That is sci-fi. Right. Okay, so let's talk about, we touched on this earlier, Harry Potter. All of the females, are they technically witches?
The students are all technically wizards, but the teachers,
They get
some
separated.
of them are called witches.
They got the witch hats.
Yeah.
Everybody has a witch hat in that movie.
Oh, Harry Potter does. I don't know. I don't watch.
Well,
that.
Bellatrix Lestrange is clearly a witch, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a witch.
That we know for sure. And then what about the teacher? Is it...
Maggie Smith's
Yeah,
character.
Maggie Smith is a
McGonagall.
witch.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's a witch.
She's
right.
a witch.
She wears the hat.
Yep.
Wasn't
And then what about
Harry
the-
Potter's mom? Wasn't she a witch?
She was a magician, so I don't
technically
know.
she would be a witch, right?
No, she's a magician. Is different.
She's a wizard, I
magic
guess.
Magic can be learned.
Yeah, but
It's
I
not
thought,
necessarily innate.
now there are male witches, correct?
Warlocks.
No.
Warlock.
Warlocks are not. Warlocks and witches are two different things.
Well, the only problem, though, Brad, is you're right. In terms of like general definition, these are different things, but these movies and books and stories kind of make up their own
Right, but
ideas
there's
as to
a
what a
question-
witch is and what
Right, but
a wizard is.
True, but there's a difference between where they get their power and what level of power they're at.
Like Merlin's a wizard, but then so is Harry Potter. But are they anything alike? You
Not
know,
in
so
the
that's
same. No, and there's the.
But Harry Potter's more like a witch in the sense
Yes,
of
yes, I will agree with
So-
you. But I'm my only condition is that I don't believe a warlock. Warlocks are servants. Witches are independent.
Again, it depends on which definition you're going
Yeah,
by.
well,
Warlock, for all intents and purposes, is
Somebody's
simply a
gonna have
male
to go
witch.
rewrite
Okay.
Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there
I
was
think you're
that.
gonna do that tonight.
Mark, you've seen that the classic movie Warlock, right, with Julian Sands?
Oh yeah, that was
Yes,
a good
right.
And
one.
you don't remember the plot synopsis of that?
Not really. I
Okay.
just remember it was a
demon
movie
based.
about a male witch,
that was
which is a
demon.
warlock.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the prevailing thought is that
So-
witches have the power. Warlocks are bequeathed the power. They're given the power by somebody else,
So
usually a demon.
Witches learn the powers.
Witches
through
get their
books
power
and
from
studying
Gaia.
and-
This is Brad's definition only, folks.
Yeah, well, it's been the prevailing thing since from the books that I get from the fucking library.
Okay, so Hermione
word,
Granger,
asshat.
Luna Lovegood, Ginny Weasley, those are not necessary. They are not
Well,
necessarily
aren't they witches? No, they're not.
They're using the term wizard as a generic term to cover males and females, but I would
Okay.
say if any given movie like Hocus Pocus, those witches act the same as the wizards in Harry Potter,
Okay,
you know?
I see. All right, so now,
Semantic thing.
Brad, you had a list.
I have a
correct?
list. The ruffling of paper.
And this
You
is
printed it out
a.
at the library.
10 sexiest witches from TV or movies.
Are you starting from the?
Starting from 10.
The
Lowest first.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily agree with everything on this list, but
That-
I think it's compelling.
Now these are the sexiest, not the most powerful.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay.
Who do you want to fuck?
Unless you're attracted,
A list of
unless you're
fuckable
attracted
witches.
to powers, you know.
That's
Yeah,
true. But
yeah.
this is, I'm pretty sure this is the fuck it list.
So this
Okay,
is just
this
a
is
superficial.
Yes, absolutely.
Sexist.
Absolutely.
And you wonder why
This
your
is-
wife hates the show.
She
really
loves me.
I was gonna say she really just hates you and she can't break it to you.
Yeah, right.
Well, okay. I'll accept that too.
Let's continue.
Sarah Jessica Parker in Hocus Pocus. So now I know what you're thinking. She's got warts the size of New Jersey on her face.
In a face that looks like a foot.
It does. It
Right.
does.
Horse.
Next.
So this is I'm just going to give you the first line of this. Some people don't like the way Sarah Jessica Parker looks these days. I was just laughing. But you have to admit that there was a time when she was smoking hot. And you understand this is 22 years
Footloose.
ago.
Footloose.
Yeah.
LA Story.
Yeah.
She looked great.
Early
in LA.
90s.
Yeah, yeah.
Early 90s, you would knock people down to dip your wick in that. Okay. No? Really? No.
Next.
Yes, next. Monica Bellucci in The Brothers Grimm.
Ooh,
remember
you didn't
that?
talk about that.
Yeah, she was
Okay.
hot.
Okay.
She was.
Monica Bellucci on any list
Yes.
It's
ranks
pretty-
well.
Pretty
You could be in a
damn
bucket
good.
of shit and still look hot.
Exactly. And I think it's funny that we don't think of Matt
Your
Damon.
analogies are just terrible today.
Yeah, Matt Damon and the late Heath Ledger. Oh my God! No wonder he killed himself. He has a girl's name, Heath Ledger,
Damn.
because they got that
It's
action.
named after a candy bar.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
All right, we're running long on
All
time.
right, sorry.
Quickly.
Melissa Joan Hart, Sabrina, Teenage Witch.
Cute.
Okay,
I wouldn't say
cute,
sexy.
Well, yeah, there was plenty of porn generated from
Next.
that show. Alyssa Hannigan and Amber Benson, the lesbian witches.
You goddamn right. You're goddamn right.
On what show for people who don't
Buffy
know?
the Vampire Slayer.
Thank you. Next.
Hell yeah. That's the only reason I watched that. Okay, sorry.
Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock in Practical Magic.
Okay.
Now, again, this is late 90s.
Sandra Bullock in anything except Speed.
I'm more of a
Okay.
Nicole Kidman
Yeah,
fan
I
myself.
think
An
I
astronaut
might,
outfit.
Eyes
Yeah.
wide
Yeah.
shut.
If I have to listen to one more story of Sandra Bullock talking about her kids, I may.
All right, what's the next number
the
here?
cast of Charmed?
What-
number
what-
5.
number 5, okay.
Number 5. So that's the entire cast.
Now, does
Shannon
that-
Doherty.
Okay.
Now, who was the
Alyssa Milano.
Who was the original cast? Because wasn't there a replacement?
Shannon Doherty.
Alyssa Milano, Shannon Doherty, and Holly Marie Combs.
Right.
But
who got
They got rid of
replaced?
Doherty.
Shannon Doherty held out for money, and they said
And they
Hit the
replaced her
road,
with the
Jack.
girl in the
Rose McGowan.
Rose McGowan.
Oh
yeah.
yes, yes,
who
that's
was
right.
dated and almost married Marilyn Manson.
Now, did she play the same character or did she?
No, it's
They-
a different.
they-
No, it's a
so they
different-
wrote her off.
It's
her-
another sister.
She
That's what
also
I'm saying,
ruined
they
Robert
wasn't.
Rodriguez's marriage too. I got that from his nieces.
Okay, next number 4.
Yes. Number 4, Helen Mirren in Excalibur.
Ah.
Now, I
Ooh,
know
we totally
Okay.
forgot about that one.
Yeah.
she was hot in that movie. And
Yeah.
this is like
We're forgetting
40
a lot of shit.
40
Helen
years
Mirren
ago.
still today, I think,
She's
looks hot.
right.
She's great.
Look at movie in Red.
Yes.
She was awesome.
Yeah,
She's
she
both of them.
wasn't
She's
bad.
a gilf.
Now this one I totally forgot.
A
about.
grandma.
Kelly Hu in The Scorpion King.
Oh shit! You are exactly right. You
She was amazing in that.
yes.
Q's got a penis.
Well,
Oh my, that's
It's like
more,
the Groundhog's Day. Did it see
more
its,
information than
shadow?
I need.
yeah, it was a big shadow too.
Yeah,
Dark Shadow.
number
Yeah, right.
White shit. No.
number
Let's put it
2.
like this. I'm gonna use the force.
Oh my, yeah. See, there you have it.
A
Number-
light dagger.
Number 2, All the Ladies in Craft.
okay.
What the hell is Kraft? I've never even
Craft.
heard of
The
that.
Craft.
Oh, Kraft.
The Craft.
Robin
Sorry.
Robin Tunney, Nev Campbell, Fairuza Balk, and Rachel True.
Yeah.
And that was, the whole time you're going, wow, I wonder what it would be like if, balls across the nose ideas and all that. But and then all of a sudden they got like evil, and there's that Fairuza Balk was just
You left out a
crazy.
big one.
Wait,
no,
there's still
wait.
number 1.
Oh, I'm
We got
sorry.
Number 1.
Oh, let's see if you got it.
And I don't know if I 100% agree with this. but
Margaret Hamilton.
Elvira,
Oh, Elvira.
Mistress
That's a good
of the
one.
Night,
That's a good one.
and that's
Dang,
like
she
I
just
said,
won because of her tits.
Okay, Nick, who are
Okay.
you thinking of?
Well,
you
in recent years, a very sexy witch, and I thought she was one of the best things about the movie, is in Oz the Great and Powerful.
Oh.
What's her name?
Oh, Mila
Rachel
Kunis.
Rachel Weisz.
No,
Mila Kunis.
Mila Kunis.
Mila Kunis.
Mila
Yeah, you know what?
Kunis.
I
She
can't
was
tell
really,
this.
she was
Okay,
really
well,
good.
what about
Yeah.
what's her name from Snow White and the Huntsman?
Ooh, yeah.
Kristen Stewart.
Charlize Theron.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's a witch.
Yeah, but she only
She's
has
a
one
witch.
arm.
No, she got 2.
She
in
only
that
needs
one.
one.
Oh, yeah, I guess
She's got a mouth still, right?
Comics, perverts, and sci-fi.
And don't forget the upcoming Huntsman movie. You got like the Ice Witch.
Oh,
whatever,
yeah.
by Emily
Yeah.
Blunt.
Okay,
She's
yeah.
hot as hell.
You know,
Emily Blunt,
Well,
definitely.
we didn't talk about The Last Witch Hunter, which was that.
Oh, man, that was an awesome movie. I love
just
that
came
movie.
out this past year.
I
with-
forgot all
what's
about
his
that.
name?
was
Vin
that?
Diesel.
Vin
Yeah.
Diesel.
Was
yeah.
that any good?
The Iron
Yes,
Giant.
it's awesome.
Is it really? Okay.
Yeah.
And then there was another
We
movie.
can't forget about
From the
Meryl Streep
standpoint
in the
of
woods.
Continuity and action. And
Okay.
yeah, it's really worth seeing.
Mark, who did you
Meryl
say?
Streep in the woods.
That's
into
true.
the woods.
Yeah,
into the
yeah,
woods.
yeah.
And then,
She was nuts.
You could even
I mean,
say
I liked
that
the movie, but she was nuts.
She was a
the,
witch.
the paranormal activity movies are also premised on a coven that
Exactly.
yeah. Well, what? I can't think of her name. Hansel and Gretel. The main witch in Hansel and Gretel.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
drawing
Baba
a blank
Yaga.
myself. But here's
was
some
in,
other witch
because that's-
movies.
Julia Child. She's always trying to cook somebody.
Right. No, Baba Yaga. Baba in the Grimm fairy tales, which is what Hansel and Gretel is from. And Baba Yaga is one of the most awesome and powerful witches in all of the Grimm stories, and that's who's in that cottage.
Okay, here's a couple of other
not
witch
the one in-
movies that we haven't talked about. Let's just plow through those real quick. My favorite witch just because this was one of the earliest sex scenes I saw up on the big screen,
Uh-oh.
was from Conan the Barbarian, 1982.
Oh man.
And that movie sticks out in my mind because
That's not all that sticks out.
the buddy I was with said, "Why is she getting so mad? Is it because Conan's so heavy? He's crushing her?" I said, "Nope, I don't think that's the problem there."
For me,
He throws her right in the
Jensen.
fire too. I remember. Yeah.
Go ahead, Q.
Oh, you're
For
talking
me,
about the actress, not the actual character.
No, yeah. For
Sorry.
me, Jensen. I can't think.
Oh, Famke.
Famke Johnson from
Yeah.
X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah, her.
She's a beauty. She's
What
a
was
beauty.
she a witch in?
Hansel and Gretel. She was the main antagonist.
with Hawkeye?
I didn't see that movie.
okay.
I didn't see
Yeah,
All right,
her.
so let's quickly, we're running along in time. Let's quickly plow through the rest of these. We did not talk about Kiki's Delivery Service. I meant to bring that up when we were talking about Disney. That is the
cartoon.
Hayao Miyazaki.
Yeah, Miyazaki.
1989.
That's an awesome movie.
Japanese animated movie,
Yeah.
and that is great.
Ghibli
Go check
Studios.
That out. It's us, it's really for kids, but
Yeah, no, it's good.
Anyone could like that
It's good.
movie. We also forgot about The Conjuring. That had a very spooky witch in that, even though it wasn't, central to the plot. We also had in 2012 Lords of Salem, which I know you saw, Mark.
Yeah,
the
that
Rob
was-
Zombie movie.
Yeah, that was bad.
Oh, that was okay.
And not in a good way.
So we should not recommend that.
No.
What was
Q.
the movie when? Oh shit, I can't think. It's the
Okay.
same guy that did The Mist.
Frank Darabont.
The Fog?
No, the movie. Yeah, and then she went to the town, and the town was had the witch in it, but it had all the ghost people. And at night, the horn would sound, and you had to run to the church to be safe.
Was that a video game?
No, that Silent Hill.
That's a video game.
No, but it's a movie.
It's a
too.
movie,
They made a
too.
movie out of it.
M. Night Shyamalan?
Yeah, I know that, but wasn't the movie based on the
Yeah,
based on the
Yeah,
video
but
game?
it's still a movie, and it's
Yeah.
still a
But
witch.
it's based on a video game.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Is it not a witch in the damn movie?
Okay,
I don't remember.
next we've got Drag Me to Hell, which was 2009.
Sam
Gypsies
Raimi.
count as
Missed it.
witches?
And, well, she was technically a gypsy,
Gypsy.
but she looked and acted a lot like a witch.
Yeah.
Not a gypsy witch. I mean,
Yeah. And then one of the classic horror movies of all time is the 1977 Italian horror movie Suspiria with the young Jennifer Connelly.
and the witches that were
Ooh,
running
yeah,
They
the
ran
ballet
the boarding
school. The
yeah.
ballet school.
Oh, ballet school. Sorry. Yep.
Yeah.
And there was actually a pseudo remake of that in 2006 called The Woods. And Bruce Campbell actually had a little cameo in that, if anyone wants to check it out. And then George Romero, who did all of the zombie Night of the Living Dead movies, he did a 1973 movie called Season of the Witch.
Oh, yeah.
And just
Yep.
just before that, you had a movie in '71 called The Girl Slaves of Morgana Le Fay, which was more of kind of like a softcore lesbian porn movie.
She's in she's
And then
a
you got-
character in the comic books too.
You got Burn Witch Burn in 1962.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Black Sunday, Mario Bava movie,
Right.
1960. So yeah, there. And I'm
What
sure
about the
there's-
Devils? Remember that was a
Devils with
classic.
Vanessa Redgrave.
Yeah,
the
was
Ken
that a
Russell
witch
film.
movie?
Yeah, well, they were kind of
Devil
like it was a
worshippers?
witch hunt type movie.
Okay.
It was up. It was kind
A
of
couple other witch cameos in the classic Pumpkinhead. The witch lived out in the swamp that conjured up the Pumpkinhead
cool.
creature. There were in Clash of the Titans, the original with Harry Hamlin. There were the three witches
that were
had-
inspired
the-
by the Macbeth
the
witches.
Macbeth
the
witches.
Three
Yep,
blind witches.
Sure. Yeah, and those are a couple more I just thought of.
Very cool, very cool. Let's because we're way over on time as usual. Let's quickly take it around the horn. If anyone has any recommendations, they don't necessarily have to be geeky or not. I'm going to throw out there. Go to YouTube. Check out the Paramount Pictures YouTube channel because they've put a lot of their schlockier movies up on their channel for free in their entirety. Now they're not HD, but you've got basically all of the canon films are up there. So you got a lot of action movies. You got a lot of horror movies, some sci-fi movies. The one I was watching this week was the. I don't know if you want to call it a classic, but I remember it fondly. Masters of the Universe. That's up there to watch.
It's a canon film.
That had the
Yep.
sorceress in it.
Yes, exactly. So that's my big recommendation. And then also, Best Buy has on sale the graphic novel and DVD Blu-ray combo disc. So for under $20, you can get the DC animated movie on Blu-ray and DVD, and then it comes packaged with the graphic novel that the movie was based on. So
Which movie?
for under $20,
Various titles.
pretty much all of
other
those
animated.
Pretty much all of those DC animated movies they have packaged
And I would like
together.
to recommend the DC film, The Flashpoint Paradox. That's what I
Okay.
would like to recommend.
All right, Q. Any recommendations this week? What are you watching on TV? Anything new?
Arrow and Flash getting really good.
So nothing new. Okay, Brad.
Damn.
Well, we're long on time.
Yeah,
Again,
no,
it doesn't have to be geeky.
Stay the course. Watch the last episode of X-Files. Keep watching Lucifer. Keep watching Legends of Tomorrow.
Yes, X-Files tomorrow night, Monday night is the last of the 6 new
Yeah.
episodes. So fingers crossed that they bring it back.
There'll
for
be
some
more.
Yeah.
Fox already said they want to do more.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
And then,
Nick?
of course, Zootopia comes out on the 6th. So I'm...
Oh, Gods of Egypt comes out this Friday.
Next week, yeah. So we'll be
Oh,
talking
all right.
about that in the new movie section. So
Yeah, so
we'll
you
check that out.
recommend.
No spoilers whatsoever, but I finished the final season of Downton Abbey, and Downton Abbey fans, you'll love it. Just like the whole series, it's perfect. And then also, not it's sort of a half recommendation, I did read the novelization of The Force Awakens. Alan Dean Foster wrote it, who ghost wrote the original Star Wars novel, even though George Lucas gets the byline. And he also wrote the very first non-Star Wars adventure that came after the first Star Wars novel called Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which interestingly enough has Luke and Leia fighting Darth Vader with a lightsaber, and Luke loses and Leia has to fight him, very much like how The Force Awakens, how Finn lost and then Rey had to fight Kylo Ren. I thought that was very reminiscent of Splinter of the Mind's Eye. But my point is, just a couple, if you don't want to read the novel or spend the money on it, there were a couple of small revelations in it that weren't in the movie, or there were 3 that stuck out. One, it is confirmed that in Rey's flashback, when Luke puts his mechanical hand on R2's head, it is the Jedi Temple burning in the background, so she has a vision of that. When Rey grabs the lightsaber from Kylo Ren when they're fighting over it with the Force, and Rey actually catches it, Kylo Ren turns to Rey and says, "It is you." So she is someone that they know exists, and it was confirmed when she was the one who caught the lightsaber. And the final other little thing was in the scene where Han and Leia first see each other again, the author describes them as husband and wife looking at each other. So they apparently are married, even though they're not a couple when the movie starts. So those are the big things I got out of the book. Otherwise, just see the movie again.
And that should be called The Widow Leia.
The Widow Leia, yes.
Okay, and before we wrap it up, I just wanted to mention the Crafty Witch, which is the new Able Ideas character coming out this year, since it's kind of on point, on topic.
It's a cute title.
Yeah, so she'll be appearing in the calendar first, which they're going to put out at the Motor City Comic Con this May, and then that character will also be appearing in Vicious, the Vamp Killer. Issue number 2, and then assuming that character does well, we're gonna see her maybe in her own spin-off book. But we'll post some of those. They've got some pics and some images of the Crafty Witch character, and we'll post those on our Facebook page and Instagram and all that other stuff. So I guess Brad, it's time to wrap things up.
Ooh, and it only seems like yesterday when... No, never mind. Well, it's been podcast number 9 with the superpowered, mild-mannered The Q.
The Q.
And everything you wanted in a rude son of a bitch and more, Marc Meyer.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And, of course, our own personal power man.
America's
Nick Moretti.
sweetheart.
That's right, America's sweetheart. And the man on the boards, Denver Sean, who you wouldn't hear a word we said if it wasn't for him. This is Brad Levin with Comic Experience Sci-Fi, reminding you to go to ableideas.com and buy some books. Go to Comic Experience Sci-Fi and send us all an email. We want to hear from you. And come back next week when hopefully, by some major magic, I will be here with the rest for Podcast 10. And see you next time.